Welcome to the Matt O'Grady Coaching Podcast. This is where Matt shares all his ideas on how to be happier, more successful, and enjoy life to the fullest. Please go to mattogradycoaching.com and thelivinggratitudebook.com to learn more and receive your free micro-coaching session with Matt.
Welcome to the Matt O'Grady Coaching Podcast, mattogradycoaching.com. Today, I'm really excited to have with me one of my favorite friends, Carolyn Flower from carolynflower.com. How are you doing today, my friend?
I am very well on this beautiful Sunday. How are you?
I am good too. I'm super excited to have you on because you and I have been friends for many years. And just to give our listeners a little background, you and I met in such a fascinating way. I've never met anyone in this fashion before, and it was a podcast we did. Am I right? About 4 or 5 years ago?
Yep.
Am I close? And Bob, the gratitude guy. What was his brand?
His name is Bob Miller.
Bob Miller. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating thing. Carolyn and I get on this podcast where we're supposed to be interviewed about gratitude because Carolyn is a publisher, a coach, a gratitude author, an author of other books of many things she'll tell you more about later. But so we're on this podcast and he's not there. He's having technical difficulties, but you and I are there and it's live. So what do? You and I just take over and we interview each other in the moment. And we have a great time doing it because we realize within minutes that we're of the same mindset and we become instant friends. And we just have a great conversation, maybe 20 minutes in, right? He comes back in. We have a ton of fun with it. And we have an amazing interview. And Bob was such a huge-hearted human being. When he got on, the energy shifted, it lifted up, and the three of us there, we just had such a beautiful conversation. And
we did, and if you remember, we made a decision that day to work with Bob Miller, and we created immediately the idea of an event that the three of us would host. I mean, it was that immediate on that call. We made that connection and said, oh my gosh, the three of us really must do something together.
Yes.
And here's serendipity at work.
Serendipity at work. So
this is how this works. And you and I were meant to connect because Mr. Miller only stayed with us on this earth plane for a very short time after that, right?
That's right. I mean, he was the next morning. He transitioned, right?
Yeah.
He was gone the next morning. I remember getting your messages, and it was such a fascinating for you and I then connecting that same day and talking about it, and just kind of being shocked and also strangely uplifted that we got to spend quality time with him on his last day on the planet in such a beautiful way. To help people, inspire people to connect with our passion, the three of us being such fans of the practice of gratitude and appreciation and its power to transform lives in the moment and for the rest of your life and transform relationships and connection to source and everything.
Yeah.
And you and I still have this plan to do this gratitude event that we know is going to come together at the right time. And
that was a gift that he left us with. I mean, who knew at the time that was actually a connection that we would remain grateful for. He was the walking, talking essence of what gratitude is all about. And so he brought people together, and that's what gratitude does. When what we appreciates. So here we were all appreciating one another, and look at years later, our connection remains, and we have such incredible memories of that time.
So true. And it's now we have worked together on a few different projects. You've been my author coach at different points in time. I've spent a long weekend with you getting an amazing experience on how to move through a book and how to think about it, how to work with it. So tell us a little bit about you and your work and what your main projects are right now, Carolyn.
My work has, the career that I've built, I guess, was really in communication and promotion, and the underlying common thread of everything I've ever done, I realize, has to do really with helping people tell their story. And it's my belief that every story matters. So you and I have this innate practice of bringing gratitude into that, and because it's foundational for me and for you in the work that we do. But my ability to work with clients really has to do with helping them become authors. And then once we can move them through that belief that their story matters, because that's why most people don't actually write books. They don't believe their story has any consequence to another human being, when in fact, of course, we know, right? Every story does. So my biggest passion really is to help people discover that, shape it, develop it, and then publish it. So there's the becoming part of the practice that I have, which really involves a lot of mindset principles that I've learned over the years through mentoring with incredible human beings, and then taking them through that, building their belief, and then telling that story, and then watching everything shift and change for them, because every single person who publishes a book is going to change the life of another. Now, I know that. It happens to every single person, but I watch that author move through that belief to the point where they experience that truth, and then they understand how powerful their story really is. So that entire process is what I do. It's kind of who I am more than what I do, but I absolutely love it so much.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. And I can really relate to that, because when I first started working on my gratitude book, I had a lot of self-doubt and resistance, and, who am I to write a book, and who am I to be an author, and all this, kind of, who are you to shine kind of resistance that comes up,
Yeah.
And the way I worked through it, and it's kind of fascinating, the journey it went on, was I was really sure that even a few people could be helped by me writing this book,
Yeah.
And I just held on to that. I said, don't worry about anything, selling it, marketing it. Is it true that I believe if I write this book, it's going to help at least a handful of people, And as I started working on it, that idea grew,
Yeah.
Okay, I know it can, it'll probably help, at least a few dozen people, as I started getting into it. And then the journey of it, I said, holy shit, it's helping me. I'm going through this journey of writing this book and becoming an author, and I'm learning more who I am. I'm going into the depths of who I am, overcoming this resistance. It was like the archetypal opportunity of a lifetime to see all of my fears, all of my self-judgments, and accept them and free them and let them go and overcome them and grow and expand from the experience.
That is the exact essence of what writing books is all about. It's not about putting a bunch of words on a page. The becoming an author part, that is all about what you just expressed, Matt, because when you're called to write a book, and that calling, if people are listening, they probably understand somebody, maybe they've said to themselves, oh, I got to write a book, or this whole experience, really, I got to get on paper. I got to write a book. Or you're somebody in your family or your circle of influence says, you really have to write a book. That's a calling. And it's my belief that if that calling comes to you, it's meant for you. And it's not a question of whether or not you should write a book. It's when are you going to write it? But the part that people don't necessarily aren't aware of when they walk through that door of that decision is that the author takes the journey first. So that is the becoming part, because you're being called not just to write a book with words to help people, you're being called to transform self first.
Yes.
And that's the part where the resistance, the fear of judgment, all of that, all those fears that are masked in different ways start showing up. And when that resistance shows up, then it becomes my role to guide my clients through that process of not off-roading and not abandoning the project, because they are, right? They are going to feel that resistance. It's a natural part of the process. So that, the way you expressed it is perfect, because your transformational journey comes before your readers does.
That's right. It really does.
Yeah.
And then you're on this journey, and you're able to come through on the other side and then realize, wait, now I know my book's helped thousands of people.
Right.
I know my podcast has helped tens of thousands of people. And you get the feedback, whether I hear from people about the podcast, the book, etc. So I had the resistance no matter what, whether it was starting my coaching business, starting my digital marketing business, starting the podcast, writing books. The resistance, when we take these chances and we kind of step forward more into who we really are, we're faced with this opportunity to work through it and realize that whatever this resistance is happening for us,
exactly,
not against us, and then the opportunities are just so available, and we're just swimming through them instead of trying to figure out how to just get through to the next thing. And
to be in that state of allowing, because when you become aware of the fact that, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity, you're also understanding that you're in a growth phase. Mm-hmm. And we have children, we know what growing pains is all about. Oh, yes. Right? They're temporary, but you have to feel your way through that, and you have to allow that state. You have to allow yourself to move through it, and that's how you get to the other side of it. And there's no better feeling than when you hear from somebody, and we're always inspiring somebody, no matter who you are. You never know when you're going to inspire somebody, but people who listen to you, whether you're, speaking on a podcast, or you're writing a book, or you're just simply having a conversation, you have such an amazing power to inspire another human being. So why not take all of your expertise and experience and wisdom and share it with people, whether it's on a radio broadcast where you get to share your story. You have such an extraordinary story that other people are going to hear something in it and say, wow, they overcome such adversity. If they can do it, I can do it too.
That's a perfect segue. I agree with you. So tell us your story a little bit, Carolyn. How did gratitude become such a powerful force in your life? When did it start? What was the kind of the launch point for you to say, wow, this practice is just, I need to do this, learn this, practice this?
I think the truth is, and I've only really come to the awareness of this truth in the last year or two. As a kid, which is when I started writing, because the environment I grew up in, although it was, it was not a horrible environment, but it was an environment that involved a parent that was not healthy mentally. So my way of coping and understanding the day-to-day, I was a writer. So as a young kid, I used to write every day. And I remember always focusing on what I liked. So I would write in a notebook. I always had a notebook around me somewhere. And I wrote a lot of poetry as a kid. And I used to write things like, I love my room, I love my friends, I love my bike, and I didn't realize it till later when I recalled that memory I was writing gratitude. I was writing gratitude as a coping skill, because I made a decision at some point in my young life that I was going to focus on what I wanted and not on what was unwanted. So I knew I couldn't do anything about what was going on in my environment, but I could do something about the way I thought about it. And so when I focused on things that I liked, the things I liked showed up more.
Yeah.
And it's so strange sometimes. We practice self-care all the time. We just don't necessarily identify it. And that was me taking care of me. And we're going back to childhood. And then I wrote constantly. I have little spiral copybooks of poems. And then as a young kid, when I was in the 4th grade, I had a teacher that took a shine to those poems, and she had me come in and share those with her. And then she would ask me to write them on bristleboard, and she'd put them up on the classroom walls. So that became my idea of being a published author. And I was only 9.
Mm-hmm.
So my writing was always my way of coping and understanding what was going on in my head. So gratitude has always been foundational for me. 15 years ago, my children's dad and I retired our marriage after 20 years, and we used gratitude as a foundation to do that. After my father passed away, and I wrote my first book, and the book about gratitude, I did an experiment for a whole year to see what it would feel like if I wrote gratitude for 365 days straight. And I did. And when I opened all of those and I sorted them a year later, that became the basis for my book. So,
gratitude.
Right, yeah. And we don't always understand that, what our intuition asks of us, knows far more about what's coming. So we need to just listen. And if you're feeling like, I don't know how to figure this one thing out, I have found that just simply writing a list of all the things I appreciate in my day-to-day and things that I'm grateful for, and then feeling those feelings, not just writing about them, but really putting yourself in the feeling of a moment in your life. Maybe you can recall when you were grateful. I use that strategy a lot, where I just put myself back in those moments, and it changes my energy. I mean, it changes your energy immediately.
Well, I was just doing that this morning. So I first of all, writing down what we appreciate, what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for, who, and feeling the feeling as we're doing it is absolutely a tremendous practice. And even if you've done it like years ago and you've taken a break, I find that just coming back to it, like now it's evolved for me. I used to do quite a bit of that on my own, and now we have like a family gratitude book. So we just, every once in a while when somebody really feels something, you go, it's the book on the shelf in the family room, and you just pull it down and put something in there, like a ticket to a show that we all enjoyed, and this was so much fun, and put the date, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
picture.
that's phenomenal.
So there's so many ways to kind of put that, gratitude practice into play. But this morning, I was practicing gratitude, and I'm in a meditative state, and I'm feeling it. And the question that came up for me was, can I feel that even more? Like, even though I was feeling good and feeling grateful, and it just dropped down into like such a heart opening, freeing kind of an experience just in a moment by that question. And it's probably because we were going to speak today, and I wanted to share that experience on some level, that inspired it. And I just, the feeling of gratitude, a lot of people think of it as a job, I gotta count my blessings now, or something like that, like it's so important to remember, hey, we're just asking you to feel good. Like, this isn't like this big, heavy problem we're trying to help you, you gotta do this really hard thing. No, it's the exact opposite of that, right? We're asking you simply to remember what you have, what you've been given, what is coming to you that is going to be given to you in the future, and appreciate it and feel good. It's there's nothing bad about it.
No, and the thing is, people spend a lot of their lives living from the outside in, right? So they say, well, when I get this job, I'll be grateful. When I have this life partner, I'll be happy and grateful. It starts with today, this moment. If you can't be grateful for the moment, if you can't be grateful for what you already have right now in your world, which is going to duplicate, right? Whatever you're grateful for expands. So you have to flip that and look at it from the inside out. What are you feeling right now is going to multiply into what you're going to get in the future. So how can you expect to be grateful for something that you haven't got yet if you can't be grateful for what you do have?
That's right. That's right.
It's really just recognizing that, and there's always something to be grateful for. And I get asked this, and I'm sure you do as well. Well, my life is full of quote unquote problems or challenges
Yeah.
or unwanted circumstances, and they say, I have nothing to be grateful for. And I always challenge them to go back then. If you don't feel that you have something to be grateful for in this particular moment, which sometimes you just can't see it, go back. And I did an exercise at a Tony Robbins event that he asks you to go back into 3 moments in your life where you felt grateful. And of course, I went back into the births of my 3 children. And I could feel those moments. And I mean, that brought up such emotion that the tears run down your face.
That's right.
So if you can feel that good about something that happened that you can't remember right now, go back and think of something that happened that you appreciated or were grateful for at some other moment in your life. And that's going to wash over you in such a great feeling. It will change your present moment feeling. There's always access to that great feeling. Gratitude is just an amazing tool that brings immediate results.
Yes, I agree. It really is one of those, and that's why, 20 something years ago, when I was at the most depressed state of my life, I threw a Louise Hay book, Heal Your Life. She's talking about how gratitude is helpful, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but let me just try it, because I'll try anything at this point. I'm so unhappy. And I was just eating lunch a few blocks away from the ocean. And so I focused on the ocean. I realized that I could hear the sounds of the ocean. I could smell the aroma of the beautiful sea. I could hear the seagulls. And I said, holy shit. And in a matter of 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, I had such a profound experience in that moment, eating lunch in the middle of the day, not even really believing in kind of the surface conscious way that it was going to work. But despite all my resistance, it worked tremendously, and now has led to over 2 decades of a daily practice of gratitude, books on gratitude, etc. And it's amazing when we really just are willing to try something and open a little bit to let that light in, where it can take us.
Yeah, and when we speak of these things, I mean, it doesn't have to be something. When people think, oh, I'm grateful for some windfall, they think it has to be some big, extraordinary happening that has landed and befalled them. I mean, we can get into a whole other conversation about, what you think about, you become, and how our thoughts create our emotions and everything that way. So when you live from the inside out, it starts with your thinking and your feeling, and that actually brings about things that start showing up in your circumstances. But when I wrote gratitude for a year, every single day, it was an interesting exercise because it started on January 1st, 2014. So, and I wrote every single day, and it started with a little sticky note. And, you kind of start on the first day of the year and you write what you're grateful for. And then, every day after that, the sticky note became like a bigger sticky note, which became like a notebook page. I mean, what we appreciate expands, yes. Right? I say gratitude is contagious. I don't like to use that word in our present, world situation, but it is something that multiplies. So when I took all those gratitude notes out on January 1st, 2015, and I spread them all out, I divided them up by month, and then I grouped them by season, because the front cover of my book has got a tree in the 4 seasons. In other words, practicing gratitude isn't for the beginning of a new year with a whole bunch of things you want to accomplish. It's a practice for every single day, and it gains momentum the more you do it. So I'm just going to read, if I can, just a few entries.
Sure.
Because in the 15th chapter of my book, I called it my 4 seasons of gratitude. So it was winter, spring, summer, and fall. And I just chose a few things for each one of those seasons to show people how simple your gratitude can be. So, for example, during the winter months, I had written down I was grateful for the awareness of the signs and the language of new messages and words that I knew that I had to write. I was really grateful for our giant wood stove during an ice storm and power outages. I was really grateful for heated seats and an automatic car starter. I mean, I live in Montreal, so our winters. I really was grateful for that. I was really grateful for my ability to write through my challenges. I was grateful for my girlfriends. I was grateful that my dad was walking softly beside me because I could feel his presence, and I still do every day since he passed away in 2012. And then in the spring, I was really grateful for that my youngest son, who was traveling, was safe. I was grateful for choosing to get out of my comfort zone. I was grateful that I was in my happy place at the beach. In the summertime, I was grateful for my vet because I had 2 dogs, 4 cats, and one of my dogs got really sick. So I was really grateful. I was really grateful that my daughter arrived safely on her trip. I was really grateful for new books that appeared in my path to teach me. In the fall, I was grateful for my dad's guidance. I was grateful of the awareness of the difficulties of change. I was aware of my purpose that was finding me. I was grateful for mending fences with old friends. I was grateful for great health care from my mom. And I was really grateful for Christmas shopping that was completed and done, and all the plans for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day feast with my extended blended family. We were ready for Christmas. It doesn't have to be complicated. These are the moments that if we were to pay attention to those things, I mean, there's nothing in there that I got in the way of something material. There's nothing in there that had anything to do with some big windfall. These were the moments and the things that we all have. So when I say there's always something to be grateful for, there really, truly is.
There really, truly is. And I want to highlight something because I was just working with one of my coaching clients on this yesterday, and it's the absolute most important thing, I think, in self-development work. Without this, so much of it is for naught. And that is remembering that we have the power to focus and direct our attention, to understand that by focusing on something like gratitude, like a better feeling thought, like something that's going to be helpful to us, is the ability, the ability to direct your attention on that list of grateful things that you just shared is what is behind receiving all the benefits of that experience, and remembering that we can do that anytime, all day long.
Anytime.
Anytime. Yeah. Like we talked about in the pre-show a little bit, right? People forget this power of choice, this power to focus on what we want. You know, like something I do all the time just for fun because I love it. But I realize by directing my attention towards it, how much I'm helping myself is reading things that feel good and listening to things that feel good, right? Whether it was our cool morning jazz in Florida during my author.
That was fantastic. Loved that. Yeah.
Like having coffee and just being on the beach and us loving this experience together, having so much fun and learning and growing, to what I do when I read my Rumi and my Hafiz ecstatic poetry at night that just always opens my heart and lifts me up, to podcasts like this, like whoever's listening right now directed their attention to hit play when they saw this. And there was a reason for that. So they focused their attention, now taking this information and now refocusing and directing your attention to it throughout the day and actually putting these things into practice is where the rubber meets the road for me.
Yeah, it's applying it. I mean, we all, and you're right, that's what you want to surround yourself with. Jim Rohn used to call it, the late great Jim Rohn called it bread for the head, right?
Yes.
This is just filling your head, your mind with positive influence. There's so many books that you can read, and in I'm sure for you as well. I get called to read books. Like I've got a library of these books that I've loved and read over the years. And every once in a while I get this inspired thought to go to one of them. Yes. And I don't read books once, right? I study books. So sometimes I'm called to And I know that I'm being led to a book that is going to have something in it that I need at this moment. And what's super interesting is if you take books and highlight them like I do, and you might too, you go and read a passage in a book and there's no highlighting this time. And you realize that what was important to you at that time and what isn't highlighted when you read it this time is because you weren't aware of it the last time. So reading books over and over again, you grow. And as you grow, the information that you read now becomes important. So I love reading books over and over because, what we focus our attention on expands. I mean, just think of the times that you've decided to buy a certain model of car. You've made a decision, you're going to buy that model of car. Who hasn't experienced driving down the road with that kind of excitement? And you see that car everywhere.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So what you're focusing on just expands your awareness. And it's like the golden key is knowing that you have that power to be able to do that anytime you want. Like, how exciting is that?
Anytime. It's super exciting. I mean, I think, and then, there's a certain resistance out in the world to this idea. And they say, but wait, I don't want to repress my feelings or something. And no one's asking you to repress your feelings. What we're asking you to do is to stop, pause, notice, feel where your energy is going. Feel like if you want to feel sadness, you're in sadness, like your body needs to process that, your mind, your heart, like that's completely okay. However, do you need to stay sad for the next 2 weeks to get the experience and the wisdom from it? I don't think so.
I think that is the key to that. That's one of the major keys. And I know when I speak with clients and consult with them as well, they'll say, yeah, but you don't understand this, and this happened. I said, that's true. Those things did show up in your experience. So you can feel your way through those things because yes, you have to. We're emotional beings. We have to do that. But how long do you want to stay there?
That's right. I mean,
you get to choose how long you stay there. It doesn't have control over you.
That's right. And a few hours a day is like the maximum. Yeah. I think you really need to stay in anything that feels really like it's holding you down. The wisdom can be literally, taken in over practice within moments to minutes, just kind of sitting with something for even a minute or two, but wholly accepting it and allowing yourself to really feel it rather than resisting the reality of it is where some of the transformation begins. Now you don't need to hold on to it for days and weeks and months and years because you worked with it, you accepted it, you accepted yourself through it, whether it was, some perceived failure or some, real deep pain or tragic loss or whatever it is. You can still process it. You don't need to take years and years to do it.
Well, when I wrote Gravitate to Gratitude, it really was, like I said, part of this experiment that I did for 365 days. And it was on the heels of losing my father. And the experiment really came out of here I had experienced what everyone experiences, loss. There was grief and loss and all of those feelings. And so I made a decision that I was going to focus, and I write about it in the book, during the time where, he passes away and then I start caring for my mom. I was going to focus my attention and look for things in that situation still to be grateful for. So I found, parts of the book, I say, there was incredible people that surrounded my mother and I when the loss first happened. And, miraculously finding a place for her to live and all of the, so instead of focusing on the situation and looking at it through the lens of it's a horrible thing, because nobody likes to lose anybody, I chose a different set of glasses. I looked at it through a different lens. And while I was still feeling all the feelings that you experience with loss, I don't think that I felt the loss to the depth. I didn't stay in that loss feeling constantly because I made a choice about looking for things to be grateful for during that time. And of course, when you look for them, you're going to find them.
That's right.
Because they're there.
Yeah, the power of directing your attention to look for them. Right?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
always behind this ability to choose and to direct our attention. And you're right. I mean, I think, during some of the, toughest, most tragic times, just like what we're dealing with right now across the globe on some level, right, is this massive change and shift and kind of fear and stress that's been out there.
Yeah.
How do we now approach our lives through that lens, right? How are we going to meet that situation? And what I think you're talking about is perfect for right now, because we're being forced, or if you're smart, right, you're gonna actually find a way to deal with this better than maybe you have been, and trying to embrace it, accept it for what it is, and how do I move through this with grace and gratitude?
Yeah, and how do I see how do I choose? I mean, in the middle of March, not too long ago, I had to shift and change my plans. I was doing another author retreat, like the one that you attended with me, and we had so much fun. I was doing that again, and I had to travel home earlier than expected, and I had a lot of feelings around that. That fell into feelings that, you don't really like to visit for very long. But I was, disappointed and angry and all of these things that put me in not a great mindset.
Right.
And so I traveled home, and I think it took me about 24 hours to work through all of it. And I arrived home thinking, what am I doing here? I'm supposed to be down there, and I have all these clients, and I've got all these things that I want to do. And then I had to accept the fact that, okay, this is the way things are right now. And you can stay in this place of feeling frustrated and aggravated. You
Right.
can stay here as long as you want, but how is that going to serve you?
That's right.
And your family? How is everyone else going to feel? And how are you going to feel in that state of mind? So again, I had to kind of take a look at it for what it was, and then find opportunity. And that's what I started looking for, opportunity. And guess what? What you focus on expands. I started finding opportunity in the situation.
Yeah, that's it, right? And we're all looking for that wide open door behind us when we're acting like the fly stuck in the window, as you were talking about in the pre-show, right?
Yeah, and often, and the door is right there. The door is right there. I mean, we're working so hard with the resistance and pushing up, and like Esther says, going upstream. We're trying so hard to resist, and when we go into that state of allowing, and we just kind of move with the flow of it, there's such ease in that. And then when you focus your attention on things that really can make you feel better, you change your emotional state instantaneously, and then vibrational energy and all of those things line up so that you now become aware of things in a different way. So I found this, what we're experiencing right now, I find a really interesting exercise in human behavior.
Yes.
Because as I look around, I see a distinct kind of a group, I guess, that have the mindset where they're really in that place of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, I just want to give you the tools. I mean, to move you out of that place into a learning place where you open your mind to some books and just train your mind in different ways, and then into that growth phase, because this is still an opportunity. We're being asked. I think what's so uncomfortable for a lot of people during this time is that their routines are very abruptly changing, and they're being asked to spend a little bit more time with themselves.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, the busyness of their life is the distraction of having to do that.
Correct.
So now that you're having to spend more time with you, maybe you don't know you so well, and maybe you're just a little unacquainted with you.
Yes.
So this opportunity is, okay, take a little bit more quiet than you're accustomed to.
Right.
And the opportunity becomes, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much more about me and all that I'm capable of and all the possibilities that are out there for me. And that's a growth spurt.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So true. So true. I mean, the opportunities for anything we want are always available,
Yeah.
but we have to go for them. We have to focus on them. We have to take the steps, right? I mean, that's why I love gratitude practice too. And, this idea of using a journal, doing it meditatively, really contemplating on counting your blessings and feeling them, and making it, part of the cornerstone of our day. I was reading some Robert Emmons stuff. If you guys don't know him, Carolyn and I certainly do. He's one of the foremost authors and researchers on the practice of gratitude and how it increases our health and our emotional well-being. And he's wrote some really amazing books. And one thing that he was talking about that I never did, but I've since done, is vow to practice gratitude every day. And I just loved that level of commitment. There's
Yes.
something really beautiful in that of saying, I now vow to myself to count my blessings at least once every day. And that means you just have to think of one thing once a day and really feel it. That's it. That's all that vow is. But there's something really beautiful and powerful about doing that. And I'd never thought that had just never crossed my mind before. I'm not a big vow guy,
Yeah.
But I saw the intelligence behind that, of committing to something that is so good for us, so good for our lives, and helps every aspect of our life, from physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, relationships, abundance, and then also extends that to all the people we love.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to throw that rock in the pond?
That's exactly. I mean, it transforms it from something you have to do to something that you want to do.
Yeah, that you get to do.
You get to do this every single day. You get to, it's like taking a daily walk, or anything that becomes part of your habitual behavior, putting it into your daily, I call it my inner wealth practice. That's what I do every single morning before I let the rest of the world in. I don't even turn the Wi-Fi. I turn my phone off until I do the things that I know are radical self-care for me, which is my mind work, and how I feel for that day, and how I choose to show up in that day, and visualize what the day is going to be like, and all the things that are going to, show up on my path before I let the world dump its version of, what is into my life. So if you just take a few minutes every day to do that, and direct your thoughts to how you feel right now, and how you want to feel, and the kind of day that you expect to have, that and alone is going to change everything about your day. I mean, it becomes if it becomes how you live your life, and we're not saying it takes 2 hours of your day. It's a very short period of time, but if you do it consistently, and you vow to do it consistently, you will find incredible transformation happen in your outside world.
So
it can't not happen. It can't not. It's law. It has to happen that way, because what you focus your attention on expands. So you got to be careful what you're thinking about.
Ain't that the truth, right? Or be
Yeah.
careful what you're thinking about, because what you're thinking about is what you're bringing about.
Yes.
And there's a quote I read the other day. It's really simple. Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. The
Yes.
spark that lights a fire of joy in your soul. And I'd never read that one before. It's just so beautiful, by a woman named Amy Collette. I don't think that's the psychic woman. There's another Collette that's a great.
Oh yes, I know who you're talking about. No, that's not her, but yes, I know who you're talking about.
So I don't know who Amy Collette is, but maybe we should find out and reach out to her and let her know that we read her quote on such a podcast on gratitude. She's obviously a big fan of it. But when you really take that one in, and powerful catalyst isn't what we're all looking for, some level of happiness, is really this driving urge deep within us. And it can come through all sorts of forms. It doesn't have to be just good things for ourselves, good things for people we care about, societies we care about, for the earth, for the globe, it's not just about, wanting things for ourselves, although it is that too. And I think some people get caught up in that, happiness is like selfish or something,
Yeah.
And it's spiritually selfish, right? Because that goodness is now going to shine from us and affect and help everyone else we come in contact with. As we lift ourselves up, we're actually lifting up everyone else around us.
Oh yeah. And that's that. I mean, that is, I mean, there's proven statistics on how all that works. I mean, there's scientific evidence as far as all that works. And that's why I like Robert Eamon's work so well, because, he works with how your mind and how adapting gratitude into your life actually will make incredibly big positive changes in your physical being, in your physical well-being, not just your mental well-being, but gratitude impacts your physical well-being as well.
Yeah, it can be used for literally anything, any aspect of our lives. We're looking to shift. Like I have had a sore knee. That was, I did some extra working out with my son. He's getting so big, and I'm having to chase him around the basketball court and up the mountains and everywhere. He's so darn fast. And so I had a sore knee, but my right knee felt perfect. So all I did was I sent some nurturing energy to my knee that was sore, but then I just focused on how grateful I was that my right knee felt amazing. I'm like, this right knee is so strong. It's so healthy. I'm so grateful for it. I really was. And I was able, within just a few seconds, able to really connect with how grateful I am about that. Guess how much better my left knee felt the next day?
Because what you focused on expanded.
It's amazing, right? It's so simple. We can use it. Once you get used to it, you're using it all day long, right? You get news you don't want to hear. Oh, where's the silver lining there? It just starts to naturally unfold it really becomes, like you were talking about in the beginning, Carolyn, that lens that we look through.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to choose that lens. You get to choose which pair of glasses you put on today. And I think what's so powerful about writing gratitude as well, you get to see how far you've come. Because sometimes, you're writing gratitude and you're saying, okay, I gotta take this time every day and I'm going to have this practice. But then when you start seeing the expansion of all these things that are now kind of these same thoughts, these same feelings that attach themselves and expand and more things to be grateful for show up. When you go back and read some of your writing from last week, last month, last year, you become really aware of your ability to transform. It's like seeing this great journey that you've made so much progress on, and you could feel so good about yourself.
Yeah, without a doubt. And good about the past, the present, and the future. As much as I love Eckhart's teaching of presence, and I believe in it and practice it every day, I also feel like there's a certain amount of just understanding how our internal system is set up, and by no fault of our own, our system likes to think about the past, likes to think about the future. And that's never going to stop 100%. There's, whether it's like making an appointment, right? Like in today's modern world, we're not just going to say, okay, well, we'll intuitively connect at some point in the future, and that meeting's going to go great, right? We set a time like we did today, and we make a plan. So it's a little bit of future. We don't have to be attached to it or stuck to it, but we can just be grateful, for this future thing that's happening. And something comes up in the past, we can try to find what we're grateful about that situation, even if it had some pain in it too, and in the present moment, of course, we want to practice gratitude and feeling good and lifting ourselves up and being inspired and being motivated. But I feel like, there's no reason why we can't kind of expand it out in all directions of our life, present, past, and future.
Yeah, because, when you look back over the chapters, as I say, in your life, no matter what the happening was at that time, if you choose to ask yourself, okay, how did I grow? What did I learn? How did that propel me forward? You've now transformed that experience from something in kind of one category into another. And then you can appreciate your journey. Because, it's not like things aren't going to show up. Things are going to show up that you don't particularly want.
Right.
But it's how you view them. It's the perspective and the energy that you give them. So if you look at them through the lens of, okay, I have this in my life right now. How am I going to choose to see it? And then every time you do that, you're paving the path for yourself to think of things in a way that you're going to find something to feel good about in it. You're going to feel good in your life, because the feeling is the secret. It's how you feel is the secret.
Neville. Good old Neville.
Yes. Love Neville.
You and I, big fans of him as well.
Yeah.
And this is really a perfect spot to, hit our pause button and get grateful for today with each other. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Please let everyone know how to find you.
Well, thank you, Matt, as always. I appreciate, of course, our friendship, and I appreciate, where we're going and how we can be of service and help other people. Gratitude and in a lot of different ways that you and I can partner up and share what we have in common with everybody. I'm easy to find, carolynflower.com, Carolyn with a Y, flower, the kind that, smells really good, not the baking kind, carolynflower.com. And you can, touch base with me there. I'm on social media, but that's really the place that all of those connections you can find. My publishing company has got a link from that, Oxygen Publishing, and we breathe life into books. And we use gratitude as a foundation for all of that as well. So it's been a real pleasure talking to you on this beautiful Sunday morning. And I appreciate and am very grateful to you, my friend.
Me too. I am grateful for you, that you're my friend. And we're going to do so many more fun things together. Please reach out to Carolyn. You will be glad you did.
Thank you, Matt.
Talk to you soon.